We'll start with the first question, and we will go back and forth, starting with Mr. Amstutz. The question is, nonpartisan organizations, including the League of Women Voters, support the passage of State Issue 2, which would put a multi-party council in charge of redistricting Ohio's congressional and legislative districts instead of the current partisan process. Do you support State Issue 2? Why or why not?
Thank you for that question, and I want to indicate my appreciation for this forum that we have. I have 60 seconds, and I'll go quickly. Issue 2 is a good idea that's being proposed in a very wrong way. So I do not support Issue 2, and I would recommend that all the voters vote against it, especially if they want to keep Wayne County as a county of a community of interest. I think the methods that would go in our state constitution would almost guarantee that our county would be divided, particularly for the congressional districts. And not just divided, it would be linked with a big urban center, because that's the only way you could reach the balance that it calls for. It sounds good, balance sounds good, but I think we would find that our county would not be well served by that proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Amstutz. Mr. Maglio?
I'd like to say I completely agree with the Issue 2, and I agree with Ron on the basis of, what we have here in Wayne County with the numbers, it works perfect for a district. I would love to see that kept intact because of how the community is here. But we shouldn't live in a society that gives the legislators the ultimate power in redrawing the districts. And even on our side, when the majority party withdraws it, there is going to be a bias put into that, into play on both sides. And having a commission of citizens in the state, regular people, drawing this creates less room for error and creates less, makes it unbiased. I mean, this is a government for the people, by the people, of the people. And it's not for the people, by the people, of the politicians.
Okay, thank you.
Picking up on that, the legislature does not set its own districts. It's done by an apportionment board. The legislature does set the congressional districts, however, for our state. And when we did that this time, our district vote was very bipartisan. We had 80 votes, I believe, in the House for it. We had a majority of both House Republicans and House Democrats that supported that district now. So I think clearly I'm not against trying to go to a more objective standard. And I've been a lot of discussion about that, and I think we should continue to try to achieve that. But the proposal that we have in front of us is not a good proposal. And it didn't really come from the nonpartisan groups that have signed on to it. I understand and appreciate their desire to get a new system that's objective. So it's not against the League of Women Voters for supporting it, but they didn't come up with it either. This came from other groups that have very partisan viewpoints.
Mr. Maglio, any other comments?
I'd just like to reiterate the overall stance. I mean, that's the thing about making this government fair. I mean, that's where my campaign, I have heavy stance on, putting the people over politics, and that's where it draws into. Like I said, this is their government. This is everyone's government, and making this as unfair of a process, as fair of a process as we can.
Okay, let's move on to the next question. Should we have more restrictions and legislation on fracking? Should the companies disclose the chemicals they use? And how will people whose water wells are permanently degraded be compensated? So, Mr. Maglio?
Absolutely, I think the companies, they should disclose the chemicals they're using in the fracking. And in terms of that, I mean, fracking can be a positive thing with job growth, in the communities, and also it increases the businesses on the whole in the area. But we should, before rushing into it, take into account what effects the company have. We speak of with the water wells, we've seen this with that, and with the roadways in communities, and making sure that the companies are good on their word and coming in and fixing these problems when they occur. the thing right now is, it's coming fast. We got in Portage County, just north of us, the fracking, is taking a large step. And I just want to make sure that our people in Wayne County and the state of Ohio are protected. And the rights, like I said, reiterated, that the water wells aren't being contaminated. If they are, they're taken care of.
Thank you. Mr. Amstutz?
The question is a good one because there's been a lot of public discussion about this. I think there's also a lot of misunderstanding about it. The risk to our water wells isn't the fracturing process, it's up on the surface. That is where you have to watch out that you don't get contaminants that get down into the wells. The activity, we've been doing fracturing of gas and oil wells in Ohio for many, many decades. This is a new technology that is a variant of what has been done for a long time. And the state does have a role in protecting our environment. Several years ago, Ohio passed one of the most comprehensive gas and oil well legislation, pieces of legislation. And then this year, we went back over again and upgraded our regulatory program. So I think we've addressed that question. But there is worry, and that's natural, I guess.
Thank you. Next question. The people of Ohio voted in favor of term limits. What is your position on this issue? Mr. Amstutz?
Well, there's two kinds of term limits. There's the one that's up for grabs right now because we're having an election, because we have 2-year terms. But the term limits that are being referred to here are the 8-year term limits that are in our state constitution that the people voted for. And I think most people would probably agree with me that it's a mixed bag. I think there's value in having turnover. We were getting in 10 years, we were getting about 80% turnover before term limits. Now we get 100% turnover, and there are some issues with that. Frankly, that's one of the reasons I decided to run back for the House again. We have a lot of talent in the Ohio House, CPAs, manufacturers, but they, in many cases, don't have a background in the issues that we have to make decisions on and the process that we go through. So I enjoy working with new members. I think we need a mix. I am not a big proponent of term limits because I think it has hurt the legislature to some extent, especially in the House.
Thank you. Mr. Maglio?
You see where it comes into play with term limits, because I can agree there is a need for veteran leadership, in legislators in our federal and in our state, which we're finding now. And but also I see fit that when you're having that turnover, like we talked about, it brings a change, which is good, and it doesn't, even if it's from the left side or the right side coming down, it brings that change that I think creates more consistency, because you're getting fresh ideas and you're bringing in a fresh perspective on how it should be run.
Thank you. The next question. What's your position on privatizing the Ohio Turnpike following the $3.4 million study commissioned by Governor Kasich? Do you expect to vote on this turnpike issue when it comes to the House floor? We'll start with Mr. Maglio.
Yes. When looking at privatize, I'm not in favor of privatizing the turnpike. I mean, you're looking at taking something that was run by the state and turning it over to a private entity. And, you got to make sure that when it is privatized, it's going to be kept up to the standard that it's kept up now at the state, government. And making sure that in these communities, and I mean, the job loss, I think, as well, is what I just wanted to say. Because you have people working in the tolls, you have the public employees of the state that are upkeeping and maintaining the turnpike itself. It's not guaranteed that they're going to stay within that once it's privatized.
Thank you, Mr. Amstutz.
We don't have a proposal currently before the General Assembly, but this study that was referred is underway. We haven't gotten recommendations from that. I am a skeptic of, it's actually not going to be a proposal, I don't believe, to privatize it, but there may be a long-term lease of some sort that might be proposed, and it may come, if it does, it will probably come early next year. I wouldn't be surprised that we'll start to hear what the administration is thinking about it yet this year. I think we need to be careful not to do something that might dramatically increase the cost of running on the turnpike, for example. That's one way you can raise money, and we do need money for our state highway system. It is a problem that continues to grow. The cost of maintaining our great highway system in Ohio is very high, and the revenue stream is not keeping up with those costs. So this is a growing problem. However, this proposal, I think we should be very cautious about before we decide.
Thank you. Next question. Both parties back schools, but public schools are closing and levies are more frequent. What will you do to resolve the state funding issue concerning schools? Mr. Amstutz?
Well, that is one of the top projects that I'm actually working on right now as a member of the House and chairman of the Finance Committee. I know that we're going to be addressing it in the next session. We meaning whoever's there, and I'm hoping to be a part of that leadership. The characterization of more levies, I think, is probably not accurate. It feels like there's too many. We all feel that way, but I don't think there really are more levies right now. But the schools are very pressed with their situation because we had to basically share the budget gap with all our partners. We have about, depending on how you count, 75 to 80% of our state budget is transferred to schools and other local service providers. So we will have to partner with our local schools. We've had hearings in the House in preparation for doing that, and I'll pick up in the next round a few more thoughts.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, public school, yeah, it has been an issue in our state for a while now, and that's one of the things I would want to do going into Columbus is, working together to find new ways to try and fund our school system. And we brought up school levies. Yeah, in some states, they don't even know what a school levy is, and the amount that we have here, it occurs so often. It seems like it's on every ballot. And maybe looking at the different states, seeing how they differently funded from ours to see if there's a better system out there than the one we have in place currently. And there's things coming from property tax to find different ways of funding. Looking at Worcester, you're taking about 74 cents out of every dollar, and from property tax, and about 7 cents of that goes to the cities. So that frees up more funding towards the cities in the property tax and find a different way of funding.
Mr. Amstutz?
The controversy over school funding has been very interesting, and I've worked on it a lot over the years. I supported increased funding for our schools. When we started into the court system, by the way, most states have had a court battle over their school funding. It's been a common problem. We were at $4 billion of state assistance to our schools. We increased it over a period of years to over $8 billion. So there's been a big improvement. A lot of that money was used to help equalize the funding for the lower wealth districts to help to get their funding up. So now the question is, where do we go from here? We do need to make some changes, but I want to say that because Ohio has moved as far as we have, we now need to come together and recognize that most of our challenges aren't really money. We do have some changes that need to be made, and I think we can make those in ways that will be rational and help the system. But we have deeper issues of discipline, family support, and the community that need to be the top priorities.
Thank you. Any other comments, Mr. Maglio? I just want to say, once we find better ways of funding, that can only make us grow, in our school districts and become stronger, and in turn make the whole state stronger. I think everyone's goal here is to create the highest standard of education we can give our children in the state. And, another way when we put the funding in there, being around the school system, because of my mother, who has worked there for, over 15 years, you want to give the opportunity to the teachers as well, based on funding, to teach at their full capacity, the resources in their classrooms to do that.
Thank you. I don't disagree with that. That's good. Well said.
Okay. Tax has resulted in loss of funding to support local city services. How do you propose the state correct this problem at the local level, and how can we broaden the tax base? And we'll start with you, Mr. Maglio.
Yeah. The state tax, it was a huge blow to local communities throughout the state and here in Wayne County. It feels like, since it was one of the key parts that these municipalities rely on for the public services, that it was the state's taking on a huge role without feeling it. And then it seems to be falling on the backs of local citizens. I mean, we look at the board meetings that they're having in Worcester currently right now, wrapping up. And, we have two major cities here in the county, that Orville and Worcester, and both sitting at a 1% income tax rate. And they were both hit from these funding reductions. Doing away with the estate tax, the tangible personal property tax, and also local government funds that are shifted away. And we need to find better ways than placing all the burden on the back of our local citizens from that loss of funding.
Okay, Mr. Amstutz.
The question on the estate tax is a reasonable one. The state gave away most of its revenue that it was getting from the estate tax a number of years ago to try to raise the threshold of who has to pay. So it takes a fairly large estate now to qualify, over $350,000, although that's not big anymore. But the 80% does go to local townships and municipalities. So that is an issue that I think we're going to continue to work with our local partners on. But I got to say, all the taxes that we have, that one's about as close to theft as you can come. And I never supported that tax, and I think repealing it was an honorable thing to do. Now, having said that, our city of Worcester, for example, gets about $1 million a year on the average from that. That's not small change. So they have to then figure out, what are we going to do for our capital improvement program? And I think we need to stay close to them and work with them in determining how that impacts their overall budget.
Okay, thank you. Move on to another question. If a bill came to you that restricted any bargaining by teachers, would you vote for it? And we'll start with you, Mr. Amstutz.
I don't really understand that question. Restricted bargaining, I'm not sure what that means. My view is that one of the big challenges that we have in our state, and we've had this for a long time, we really need to get focused on this, is figuring out how to improve our relationships, especially in the public sector now, between those who are leading in the management side and those who are on the worker side. We've got to do a better job of that. It hurts the taxpayers, it hurts service levels, it hurts our community spirit. It is a drag on our state's quality of life to have that conflict. And so the question is kind of in that area. And I appreciate the question. I don't understand it, so I'm having a hard time answering it. But I believe that, that we do have currently a collective bargaining system that needs some adjustments. It's not a well-balanced set of policies. And so I think there will need to be some work on that at some point.
Thank you, Mr. Amstutz. Mr. Maglio.
I mean, if we're talking, obviously we're talking about collective bargaining. I mean, no, I wouldn't, vote to bring in restrictions to the bargaining rights that the employees have with the administration. I mean, if we're referring back to the bill that happened last November on Senate Bill 5, that would have been a huge blow to take away powers to have fair negotiation between the employer and the administration on determining what they need, in their given line of workforce.
Okay.
let me just
Sure,
suggest
Mr.
that
Amstutz.
we have a fresh example of, I think, what we can do, and I had the privilege of actually being a Republican that worked with a Democrat to carry a bill to the Cleveland Municipal Schools. That bill was all about collective bargaining, but specific to Cleveland only. And what happened there, it was a really tough bill, because you can imagine the opportunity for inflammatory rhetoric and fighting was really big. And it was very tense for quite a while. But what Cleveland, to their credit, was able to do in sitting down with their union leaders and the leaders of their school, they actually agreed on 8 principles that they want their next contract to have in it. They came to us and said, will you carry this legislation and basically impose this on us so that we work together in a way that's going to, it's a very different way of working together as labor and management in those schools up there. And I wish them well, because I think that is an example of what we need to try to do in Ohio.
Thank you. Any other comments, Mr. Maglio? Okay. Final question, and now you get your turn. How would you like to share your 30-second soundbite about why we should vote for you? And we'll start with Mr. Maglio.
One of the things I learned while I was in Columbus was taking care of the constituency. And I believe there's a sacred covenant between the office holder and the constituents. It doesn't matter what they do or where they're from. And that's why I want the chance now to help on a greater level, and most importantly here in the county. So many people's lives and concerns and questions, they go unheard, and they need a voice. And I can't promise to change everything, but I can promise that I will always be here for people living in Wayne County and in the state. Thank
you. Mr. Amstutz?
So we give a 30-second soundbite, but we have 60 seconds to do it. That's good. I simply want to say that it has been a tremendous privilege over the years to work with the citizens of Wayne County. I kind of see this work that I have in 3 parts. There's the official part where you are representing our citizenry in the making of state law. And I enjoy that. I enjoy working with that. There's always challenges. It seems like some of these things never want to go away. But there are other 2 parts to it. Oh, it was 30 seconds. All right. I was wrong.
Thank you. Well, that concludes our candidates night for 2012. We'd like to thank the University of Akron Wayne College for hosting us here in their beautiful Student Life building. We want to thank Debbie Uniac, is she here from Wayne College? Here we go, for helping us with this event. And David Record, Peer Picture, did the QKT, the American Association of University Women, for providing the refreshments, as well as the co-chairs of candidates tonight from the League of Women Voters. Pat Miles is in the back, I know. Michelle Flory, Kathy Helmuth. Thank you to the League of Women Voters President, Alex Davis, is in the back. We'd also like to thank the co-presidents, AAUW, Judy Castleman and Linda Crouch as well. There's information in the back about membership to the League of Women Voters if you're interested, as well as a flyer about an interesting program happening on Thursday, November 15th, called Human Trafficking, Can You Prevent Your Child from Being a Victim? It's being held at Memories as a luncheon meeting, so be sure to pick up a copy of that on your way out. Let me see. The evening's forum is going to be rebroadcast on Clear Picture Channel 22. So tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, if you want to go through this again, you can watch it. Thursday night at 8 o'clock, Saturday at noon, which is the 27th, and at 3 o'clock on Saturday as well. I want to thank you all for attending this evening's candidates night. Remember to vote on Tuesday, November 6th. The polls are open from 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Bring your identification and have a great evening. Thank you.